I read depreciation equals original cost minus trade.
No, the startup. The little green box up on the top.
You said
It
something
actually
different
says
than
startup,
startup.
okay.
I did?
Yeah, I don't know what I don't remember what you said though.
Did I say the setup maybe?
Yeah, you said setup.
Sorry, the startup.
3 year of 30,000. I said 3 year of 30,000. That's what I think.
There's a lot of factors that can go into this.
Okay.
Let's hear it, mechanic.
First off, did it sit in the garage for 3 years?
Okay.
Well,
Good.
obviously, the one was on the road more than three, so it could have more damage to it. Paint scraped off. Could we have salvage title? You never know.
A what?
Salvage title, like your car.
Means your car got in a wreck, and you fix it.
AKA
I got it back
Molly.
last night.
Okay, anything else?
Used tires, 80,000. Probably needs more. Needs new tires because average set of tires only last 60,000 miles.
Dude, good.
I need new tires.
Your tires are basically a mechanic. I know.
Just
All right.
That work.
So, we'll talk again at the end. We'll talk again at the end, but this is what we're gonna kind of look into on one of these, projects that we do, okay? I think we'll actually do this when we come back, but, so what is depreciation?
The cost or the value goes down after.
Right, so the value gets, and what do they usually say if you buy a new car? About the value of it. As soon as you're driving off the lot, it crashes a lot, right? Takes off a lot of your worth, okay? Obviously, this can happen on just about anything. We're gonna zero in on cars, but you can have this if you're running a business and you had, if you're in the printing business and you had a giant printer, those kind of things, that could have depreciation also. Why do you think this is right here? It says a vehicle will depreciate faster than a home.
Because it's used.
In a sense, it's used more, right? And basically, a house isn't really going to do anything except have weather to it, so depending again how much you would use your car, okay? But basically, motor parts, the style of the car, those are all different things. So we're going to look at something called the total depreciation, which is the difference between the original cost and the resale or trade-in value. So this is, if you're looking to have a new car or try to get a new car, maybe you want to trade in your old car, and the amount of depreciation, whether it's, for a year or two, or if you kind of try to get the whole distance out of your car, meaning 10, 15 years, it'll make a difference, all right? We'll never really know what the exact depreciation is until you actually sell the car. It's only an estimate up until then. Because now you're kind of what Landon went through. You got to take into all those considerations. Was it in an accident? Was it, just sitting there? Was it used every day? Was it driven hard, basically? Meaning, were there all town miles versus transportation miles, in a sense? Meaning, did you use it for long distances? Okay?
Which one would be better? Town
Mechanic?
I don't know this one. I feel like highway miles are better.
Or better, probably, right? It's easier probably on the engine and stuff than, if you're stopping and starting all the time in town, especially if you're turning your car on and turning it off, it's going to wear and tear a little bit more.
My car had an engine and this old grandma drove it for years only in town, so when we got it and I started driving it on the highway every day, the engine actually stopped working and we had to get a new one.
Because it was not used to it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
That's weird.
New engine.
You might as well just get it.
I know, seriously.
Would an engine swap bring the depreciation down?
No.
It could bring it up.
It would bring it up.
It was better mileage actually.
Right.
That's right, baby. Engine swap.
My truck's
I blew the first one.
How's that happen?
I was driving to school one day.
Were you late?
Yeah. But that didn't have anything to do with it.
No.
I was like speeding, but that isn't what it was just not bad.
Oh,
It's not a very fast truck, Donald.
I don't want that.
It's a diesel.
Throw it
It's a
away.
diesel truck. Sorry, she's
Yeah,
not
Tiff.
fast.
Here.
She flipped it on
She
You're
flipped it on you.
A 6'2".
I was, well,
yeah.
now it's still on the ground.
Alright, here we go,
Stop
catch
it,
trick.
wait, no.
So, we talk about a resale value and a trade-in value. A resale value, the market value of the car, what you think you can get out of it, right? When you can get what you sell it for. Trade-in value, the amount you get for your old car when you're trading in for the new. So basically, again, this is, we would go through all this, but if you would take this to a dealership, they would go through their process and they would give you a price, right? Well, we'll give you such and such an amount because it's only 3 years old. You only have such and such amount of miles and so on and so forth. Okay?
With a dealership, like, would they try to screw you over? Or would they give you like a good, legitimate trade-in value?
Oh, they try to.
Oh,
Yeah, well,
Is
you
there a
know,
way
in a,
that-
they're trying to make
they're gonna do it to their advantage, I would suppose. But at the same time, you gotta think about, or they have to think about, well, if I really screw them over, are they gonna stay and do business with me?
Is there a way that you could like find your own depreciation value? Is there like?
That's what we're gonna show right now.
Yes.
Alright, so, estimated average annual depreciation, trying to guess what the amount will be before you go to your selling point and see what it could be. Alright? Obviously, if you've heard of the Kelley Blue Book, you can go through and try to look at those kind of things, and they'll show you what the amount of depreciation. Again, just like anything else, at the beginning, they're going to depreciate it a lot more than at the end. There's going to be a lot less wear and tear after 10 years per the 9th year and 10th year than there was at the beginning. Okay? So, they call this the straight line method. This is me trying to calculate it. So you're going to estimate the number of years the car will be kept. So in the back of your mind, you're going to say, well, how long before I'm going to try to get a new car? Okay? You guesstimate that. Number 2, you estimate the value of the car when you will sell it. So again, you would probably have to go and they would do like comparisons with other cars and what they got out of those and what condition again they're in and all that kind of good stuff. Number 3, we're going to subtract the trade-in value from the original cost to figure out what the total depreciation was. So you're going to actually find an amount. How much did it go down from what I started with to where I ended up? All right? And then finally, we're going to take that answer and divide it by the number of years of the car. And so we can do this with actual depreciation if we know what the actual numbers are at the end. So if we actually go through the process, we could have actually figured out, and then maybe you can use that in the future. Or you would kind of get relatively the same car, or maybe your neighbor has that car, and you can help your neighbor out with this process. Okay? So, let's look at this. Page 251, letter A. Roland bought a new car for $19,500. He has been told that his car will probably be worth $9,800 at the end of 2 years. So, look at that. Almost 10 grand, right? In 2 years. It went down. What will be his estimated total and average annual depreciation for the 2 years? Alright? So, how much are we going to get for his total depreciation?
19,500 minus 9,800.
Yeah, we're just going to take what we bought it for compared to what they think it's going to be worth. And we're going to subtract those two. So we get what?
9,700.
9,700. And then what do we do with 9,700 if we want to know how much it depreciated per year?
Divided by 20.
We just divide it by 2. So basically, they're saying if we would get this price for it, basically it goes down in value $4,800 a year.
D's.
What, you subtract it,
And then basically divide it by how many years that you wanted to, or how many years you talked about it.
okay.
So in this case, it was only 2 because it was only after 2 years. Letter B, basically the same thing, but Genevieve bought a car 9 years ago for $14,130. She sold it recently for $1,800. So this would be more of an exact thing because she knows exactly what it was, right? So again, when you take the average of this to figure out the average yearly part of this, it's probably not going to be as accurate to the beginning again as it was to the end. Meaning it's gonna be high end at the beginning and not so much at the end. But this is an average. So basically the same thing though, right? Take 14,000 minus 1 or 1,800 and then take that number and divide it by 9. So in the first problem, only 2 years, we're getting basically $4,800 a year. If we write it out for 9 years, then roughly it's only $1,300 a year. Okay? So the answer would have been 1,370. Yeah? Turn the page. Then we talk about the rate of depression. So again, anytime that we hear rate, what should we think about? A percent. Okay? Finding the rate of depression took effect on the vehicle. You're going to take the average annual depreciation, so you got to go through the process that we just went through, and then divide it by the original cost. And so basically you're going to try to find a decimal. And then it'll be basically showing you what percentage it went down every single year. Okay? So turn the page on if you're not on 252, and we're in letter C. A new car that costs $23,000 is worth $16,100 a year later. This is what we're actually going to do when you do this little project. You're going to find values of it from 1 year to the next, and then see how much certain kinds of cars compared to other cars are affected by depreciation. Meaning SUVs compared to trucks compared to or just what do I want to say, like a smart car compared to a regular Cadillac or something. Okay, so that's what we'll end up doing. But what are we going to do in C? So we're going to take 23 minus 16,100. We take that answer and do what to it? Divide by years, but it's 1, right? Then take that answer and divide by $23,000, so we get what? So basically it's 30% after 1 year. Right? It's kind of demoralizing in a sense. Meaning, if I didn't really drive my car, if it sat in the garage, or the old lady, right? Hers might not have, but essentially hers did kind of depreciate because the engine was shot because you couldn't even drive it. Okay?
She sold it right before.
What about D?
Yeah, 2 weeks before.
Really?
Yeah.
She's a smart lady.
She felt it.
She knew it was going out.
Yes, she did, she definitely did.
The interior
She was
looking-
drag racing earlier.
It's
It's
not
your-
heated seats though, so it's fine.
The interior looked good, but the engine was going. She's like,
All right.
Tranny dropped the other day.
Letter D. Billy sold his car for $368. He paid $9,200 for the car when he bought it 12 years ago. What was the annual rate of depreciation? So again, we're going to take what?
9,200 minus 368 divided by 12.
And then, take that answer. Okay, so you got to find your annual rate. And the annual, if you did this, would have been $736, right? Because you would have got 8,832 from subtracting them, divided by 12 was 736. And then take that and divide it by 9,200 for Bless you twice. 8%. So again, 1 year, the percentage in C was 30%. But if we go over 12 years, then basically they're saying roughly it's 8% a year that it happens. So again, look at the difference. 1 year, the first year, real big number, right? But if we write it out, then we basically get our money's worth. Because now it's only at 8%.
So altogether,
I know a
so
guy who
altogether it
owns
went down
2 cars.
96.
The other day,
You went down 96%?
No, you know a lot of guys. Of course.
Maybe they.
it's mainly all the same gas, but there's get papers. Really?
Yeah, essentially.
They're completely restored and just sitting in this garage.
Sorry, I don't know that I didn't hear what you said. What did you say?
Oh, no, she's
John
not.
knows a guy.
Yeah, Donald knows a guy.
He does? Does he work at your bank that gives you?
Yeah, he's.
No, he actually works for the military.
You're telling me,
A guy that works in the military owns a couple cars that own $1 million.
Two. To be fair.
I'm
Oh,
for.
He also has one of the biggest gun collections
Who is this?
aisle
The guy.
for the United States.
Who is this now?
A guy.
Is this guy big?
Doesn't know the name.
Can't say.